everybody. Welcome back to Sound Pollution. This is episode 41. This week I have Tim. We are going to be discussing the typical inspirations, stories behind a couple songs, etc. Make sure that you're clicking below in that link section, going over to those artist pages and showing them some love. I want to thank you, as always, for listening. I don't really have any updates at this point, so enjoy the show. Hello, listeners. I am here with Tim Janakos, who is running 2 YouTube shows and doing his own music, and he's a writer. Why don't you tell them a little bit about some of the YouTube shows you're doing right now?
Well, the one I'm doing mainly is Live from Normal Heights. Yeah, we had it broken into 2 different shows, but now it's all just one show. I put it PG or not PG, depending on whether we become 420 friendly on the show or not.
Oh, I gotcha.
But yeah. we used to break it into we broke it into where it was in a cafe and one was on a bed, but I changed that just to where it's all on the bed now.
Okay. Yeah, the cafe one had some great spoken word and stuff. That was awesome.
Yeah.
It's
and
right now.
we're trying to get as many people that are doing things in San Diego. So I'm trying to interview as many people as possible, and people coming to San Diego that might be doing performances here or doing lectures here or whatever. I want to get them on the show.
So that show also, it's really interesting. I watched a few of them, and then I just flipped through some more. There seems to be an array of art and topical conversation. It's not just music. Like you've had one lady was talking about, she did paint pour art, which was really cool. You had a poet, you had somebody talking just sort of about what's going on. You just so you really just try to keep it in the creative realm.
Yeah, I've tried to get all kinds of people on. I even invited the 2 people running for Congress last time who, before one person won, I invited them both and they said they were going to come, but they never came on. I'm trying to get Tim Piles on, who does the local artist spotlight on 91X. He said he's going to come on soon. I'm just trying to get anyone who's doing anything productive in San Diego to come on, so it's not like any one subject.
So you seem like a supportive of all art. Why is that so important to you?
I actually was, before I became a singer-songwriter, I was painting and drawing and just doing art, and I wanted to learn how to become a singer-songwriter. And then I got to one point in my life where I was doing art every day, and I was practicing the trumpet and then the saxophone and the piano and the guitar every day, and I had no social life because I would just practice every day, hours. I chose at the time whether I was going to do music or whether I was going to do art, painting, and stuff like that, and I had a breakdown and I destroyed all my artwork.
Oh, no.
I had tons and tons of stuff I had been collecting for a long time that I created, and then I destroyed it all because I was pushing myself too much to do everything, and it was killing all of it because I couldn't really focus on one thing. So after I destroyed it all, I went straight to just doing music, and I never went back to doing art. But maybe someday I'll do art in the future. I feel art and music is a way that you can touch people that you can't in any other way. So my music is about influencing people to go beyond their limitations that are not really limitations, but fixed points of view that other people have about what is possible, what isn't possible. And I don't think anything is limited in this infinite world we live in. There's infinite possibility in this world that we can explore, and I try to address that in my music.
Yeah, I did. I heard quite a bit in your music. So was that just like your aha moment? You're like, this is what I'm doing. This is what I'm picking. This is what I'm focusing on. Do you regret that decision, or do you still
I wish I had my old artwork somewhere, but back then we didn't have any computers where you can take pictures and stuff. And
right.
I should have took it on those old Polaroid cameras or whatever. It would have been nice, but
they're reselling those. They're like,
yeah.
Again, now I'm like, really?
Yeah, there's a lady at the beach who takes everyone's picture and she gives them a little Polaroid, and I got one.
Oh.
She goes all over and does it. I forget her name, but I was going to get her on the show soon.
Oh, yeah, you have to. That'd be great.
The old Polaroids just were so cool because you can instantly see it printed out there,
Yeah.
or you have to wait for it. The coolest thing is waiting for it, and you see it. It's kind of
slowly.
coming into view, and
You have to shake it a little bit. So what are your musical inspirations?
I was raised by a mother who was absolutely obsessed with David Bowie.
Okay.
And
I like your mother.
And she spent the night with him at a hotel in 74 or 75. In 74, I think it was. And she had chased him to his hotel room after the concert. And she ended up getting in the hotel room, listening to music, and everyone slowly left the hotel room, and she was left with David Bowie and ended up spending the night with him and woke up on Valentine's Day. And she still thinks to this day the song he wrote Valentine's Day was written about her, but I don't know.
Only David knows.
That's right. But yeah, I loved David Bowie, but during junior high school time I started listening to Tears for Fears. It became an obsession with me, their music. And I remember after they released their first album and I was waiting for another album, and it seemed like forever until they released their second album. And they released one song that they didn't release anywhere. It just somehow got on the radio station up in LA. And it was in between their first two albums. And it was such a feeling like, oh my God, I got something I've been longing for so long, to hear their voice again. And I've always felt that way about music. I'll occasionally find an artist that I'll turn on their music and I'll listen to their whole new album and I just love it. Like 1972 by Josh Rouse was such a great album. And that was sometime in the turn of the millennium. I forget when it was. But it was just like, I was so depressed. And then I found the album and I just listened to the whole album like 20 times. And God, I needed that so bad. Music just does that to you. You'll find something that just makes you feel so appreciative to be alive. And that's what I feel like I hope my music does to someone. And I've already had a lot of people write me that did do that. But I want to do that on a grand scale eventually in the future.
So how long have you been writing? I know you told me, you destroyed your art and all that, but when was that?
That was in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
So I decided at age 10 I was going to be a singer-songwriter, but then by almost age 25, I set a date to kill myself because I hadn't written a song yet.
Oh,
and
that's so sad. It's so sad. Like, no.
Because it was 15 years. I knew I was going to be a great singer-songwriter, but I couldn't figure out how to finish a song. I would write little parts of songs, and it was so depressing because I had taken so many music classes in
that's a common thread.
Music theory and in guitar, piano, saxophone, music ensembles. Every type of music thing I can do, I learned, and I learned from a young age. I just started studying on my own. I used to go to the library and just get music books and just study like the theory of music and the compositions and how they're created. But for some reason, I couldn't break through my writer's block for 15 years. And then shortly before the time I chose to kill myself, I fell asleep driving home from LA and I flipped my car.
Oh my
and
God.
My hand went out the window. Yeah, my hand went out the window and I almost lost my hand, and it had third-degree concrete burns all over it. And it was sometime after I got out of the hospital that a song came out. It's just the whole song from beginning to end. I just wrote it all down and I got the chords and everything worked out. And so I didn't kill myself. But I'll go through times where I'm not writing as much as I think I should, and then just songs will pour out of me, and then it will stop for a while. And so now I don't really push myself anymore because I've written over 100 songs, and I know when the song's ready to come, it'll come through me if I'm the one it chooses to come through, because I feel like I'm kind of channeling my music.
I don't think it's something you can rush. I've learned that the hard way. Like, I'll get a whole idea for a song, I'll sit down to write it, and I get a verse and a half in, and it's like the rest of it just left me. And the more you force it, the less it'll happen.
Yeah, I've finished songs that I wrote 10 years or 12 years ago, and I finally found them and finished them up recently. So, yeah.
Now, do you find songwriting therapeutic?
Yeah, if I didn't write songs, I think I would be in a mental institution, probably.
Well, it sounds like it was very important to you, or what you wouldn't have been like, well, I seem to can't do it, so what's the point? Which is a horrible decision.
I feel like that's what I came to this planet to do, because I was so touched by songwriters.
Who's your favorite songwriter other than David Bowie?
Lately, I've been turned on to Morrissey, which I heard his stuff in Smiths and when he went solo for a while, but I never really read the lyrics and listened to the lyrics. And then I found this new radio station in out of TJ called Willie FM, which is 105.7, and they played one of Morrissey's newest songs called "I Spent the Day in Bed," and I was like, oh my God, I needed this song so bad. So I went online and I downloaded the last like 7 or 8 albums of Morrissey, and I can't believe I haven't heard any of those songs on the radio, and he's still writing incredible songs. So just lately Morrissey, but I really I got into Sting for a long time when he left the Police. I really liked his early work, and I liked Seal for a long time. I haven't listened to much of his new stuff, but I really loved Indigo Girls. The lyrics are just incredible.
So good.
Oh, lately, Julian Lennon, John Lennon's son, he has about 7 albums out now, and his newer, I liked all of his albums, but his newer albums are so deep, and he's surpassed his dad, like, completely. I mean, his music is so incredible. And then lately I've been turned on to Tim Christensen, who's from Holland.
I have no idea who that is.
And the crazy thing is, I was just searching on some Russian site for people who used the first name Tim, and that's how I found him. And I downloaded like 7. I really like him.
You're like, we're both cool.
When I first released an album, I released it as Timothy, and that was back in the 90s when Jewel was famous, Sting was famous. All the people were just using one name, like Sade.
Oh, right.
And
yeah, but Sade is different. She can do whatever she wants still. She's fine.
Yeah. So I just released an album, Timothy, back then, and then when I went to Japan, I got married. I released an album under my first wife's name because I wrote a novel that the main character takes his wife's. He said, if I ever get married, I'm going to take my wife's name because I can't know what my name is because all my mothers throughout time had to give up their name to patriarchy. So I took my wife
so much.
Yeah, but it was a stupid idea because after I got divorced, I changed all my albums back to my my birth name.
But the thought behind it was so beautiful and progressive, and like, yeah. I dig it. I'm sorry the marriage didn't work, man, but that was cool. Do you ever write with other people?
I wrote twice with other people, and one time on my second album, which is the song's called Believed to be Linked to Al Qaeda. That song, I had the melody, but I couldn't figure out the chords. So my friend that I was performing with, he came over and I just started singing to him, and right away he found the chords. It was absolutely perfect. And his name was Richie Gill. I used to perform with him in San Diego. He was from, in Japan. He was from New Zealand, and he was an amazing jazz guitarist and any other style guitarist. And I can't play the song on guitar because it's all jazz chords and you have to have a huge hand, and he had a huge hand. But it's one of the most complex songs. But it got played on Pacifica Radio in New York, which is WBAI, during the Democratic convention coverage when Hillary Clinton and Obama were debating each other. So it got a pretty big debut of my music. Wow. In New York. Yeah, but I never heard anything from it. It was crazy because I figured thousands and thousands of people must have heard the song, and it was very.
Oh, they were way too focused on that election.
Yeah.
Nope. I mean, there were probably people like, oh, I've not heard that. That's cool. And then that was the end of the thought.
Yeah. And then NPR played one of my songs, and I only got one email from that. Some lady bought my CD after that. But it's every time it plays on a radio, I've had 91X play about seven of my songs, and I'm always waiting for all my phone to start ringing and all these producers and get a record deal or something. But it hasn't happened yet. So
I mean, yet is the operative word. And I don't think that's really how the music industry works anymore. I think independent musicians doing what you're already doing are the way that the music industry is going to turn. And I think it's kind of beautiful, and hopefully it takes down the big beast, because I feel like that keeps musicians down. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd love to be signed on a great big label too. That'd be so cool. Oh my God, like win a Grammy. Are you serious? That'd be great. But at the same time, that type of fame is not long lasting typically, unless you like fucking share somebody. It's independent music is where it's at, especially after this pandemic, because those independent musicians, man, we kept pumping out the music. Before I move on, I want to touch base because not only are you, a songwriter, a singer, you're trying to help other musicians and artists get out there. I mean, you're kind of doing everything. You're pretty busy, but you're also an author. How many books have you written?
I wrote my novel, Myth Shattering, and then I wrote a book of my 1,000 pages of writings at Soka University of America, and I published it in 3 volumes because it took me a while to edit it and publish it. And then I eventually put those 3 volumes along with my senior thesis in one large volume. So depending on how you count it, I wrote 2 books or 4 books or 5 books. I don't know.
Okay. Because I saw a thing where it was like, he wrote 5 books. I was like, hold on. That's kind of major. But you actually published them and everything. Like they're out there.
Yeah. And I was started to write 2 other books, but I haven't. I got a few chapters and then I changed and started writing another book, and I got a few chapters and I just haven't really. I plan on writing another book very soon, but I'm not going to push it. It's going to come out when it's going to come out.
Just like lyrics, you can't push it. What are they about?
Well, my novel was about my punk rock days growing up in Huntington Beach, and I discovered Buddhism through my mother, but I changed the story a little bit. The punk rock kid in the book discovers it from his dead dad, which my dad's not dead, but at the time I didn't know where my dad was, so I just imagined he was dead, and I created this whole story, and the main character's kind of like me. And he finds his old dead father's book collection in boxes in his garage, and he becomes all revolutionary, politically active, and then he finds his books about Buddhism, and he discovers Buddhism and how it can address all the issues that he cares about in activism.
So the first track I'm going to play is It's All Up to You. Tell me about that one.
Okay, so It's All Up to You, I wrote for actually that guy who I was telling you about, who wrote that song with me.
Really?
I was trying to teach him about Buddhism and about the idea of you create everything that you're going through, and the only way you can change it is by changing yourself internally. So that's what the whole song is about. And it was just my way of teaching him Buddhism when I wrote that song to him. He was actually going through breakups after breakup after breakup with girls, and he was never looking at himself in the equation. He was just always like, oh, this person's terrible, oh, this one's shitty or whatever. And it was, I was just trying to make him say, no, look at yourself, There's something you need to change too, to not be attracting people that are not right for you. But everyone likes that song the most. That's why I put it as the first one on my last. It is
so good. It has like an old school feel to it.
Yeah.
And a badass guitar solo. Is that him? Or no?
No, that is actually UG. And okay. He was only 25 years old at that time. And he was really good. I wanted him to join a band with me and we'd perform live, and he was so shy. He never wanted to perform live. He wanted to only do recording in the studio. Piano part, the jazz piano part, that was my producer, Remy Desforques, he was living in Japan, but now he's back in Paris. He lives in Paris.
That you run away, you'll realize that you've run
you see now, my friend, no need to run and hide. You control the world that revolves around you all the time. It's all up to you. Everything you think and do, you control your destiny. You don't even need me. Soul inside of you, the strength to pull you through the darkest winter night until you see the light.
So some of that, like we said, some of that Buddhism thought process makes its way into your music. It's like we talked about with It's All Up to You. Now, do you do that intentionally, or does that sort of just happen?
Well, I find whatever I'm studying or whatever I'm thinking about, it'll just come out in the music. There's always some part of me that's trying to push it towards that direction. Like even if I'm writing a sad song, by the end of the song, the last verse or the last chorus, I'll go into turning it around to something positive.
Right, because it's not like positive all the time. Everything's flowers and roses, and because that's not real. You can't block out some of the dark stuff too. That's what they call toxic positivity, which is actually just as bad for you as being negative all the time. And so there's a balance. And
during this pandemic, I've been writing a lot of songs that are really depressing.
We all did. I didn't write it all. I wrote one song at the end of 2019, and I have somebody who keeps saying, send me stuff. And I feel like such a schmuck because I have nothing to send, and I don't want him to. And I hope he's listening. Brent, are you listening? I hope he doesn't think it's him. It's that like everything's so gross right now that I'm having a hard time writing. Did you have some of that? Well, obviously you just went with it and wrote some sad stuff.
Really dark and sad stuff, but I like them. I like the sad and dark stuff too.
Well, I mean, but did you turn that positive thing at the end of those?
One or two songs, no.
Well,
I just wanted to go deep into what everyone was feeling, and I feel like I was channeling that energy of depression, and that was what came out.
But what a great way to utilize that time.
After you complete a song, it feels like, wow, whatever I went through, it was worth going through that. Now we have the song. So.
And did you feel better after?
Oh, yeah, always.
I'm telling you, it's like magic. And speaking of, spinning it on the positive side at the end of a song, let's talk about Silver Lining, because it does have a moment where I'm like, this isn't all positive.
No.
I really liked that track. I loved the line, pushing the walls out of the way. It just really stuck out to me. Tell me about that.
I wrote that when spring was just starting in Japan, and Japan has such intense long winters, so freezing cold, and it was just starting to get sunny, and I looked up at the clouds, and there was dark black clouds, but there was a little bit of sunshine around them. And I asked my wife, what do you call that in Japanese? And I forget what she said she calls it, but I said that's called silver lining. And I went home right after that, and I wrote that song. Just came out, the whole song. And I was really writing it to her because we were going through a really hard time in our marriage.
I felt that undertone.
But now we've been separated for 4 years, so I don't know.
Still smiles on the other side of the sky. Though there are many cold days ahead, my love, you too can smile. If you can feel the warmth of my heart, I want nothing more than for you to know this world is ours to share. We can make it anything we want. Everything we thought we couldn't do, we have done. We're pushing all the walls out of the way. There's just a fine line between what is and what is not. So why not create a new day? There's so much more to this universe than anyone can see. And so much more to life than one can live. If we choose to believe the lies that try to limit us, then we'll become the limits that we choose. If we understand that infinity is all there really is, then we'll become the awakened ones we be. Everything we are is what we've chosen to be. So why not choose a better way to be? There's always a silver lining to the limits we perceive, and always another way to see. Everything they thought we couldn't do, we have done. We're pushing all the walls out of the way. Everything we are is what we've chosen to be. So why not be everything we came here to be?
Now, are things starting to open up out there?
Yeah. Even the coffee house, you can go inside and sit down and plug in your computer and study. So there's people studying again in the coffee houses.
Oh, a normal feeling.
Yeah. They're just all closing super early because it used to be 24-hour coffee houses around here where you study all night. Now they're all closing at 7 o'clock.
Oh, geez. Yeah. We just got to be open, or we will get to be open past 11 now.
Oh, wow.
I think that, in the next couple weeks, because our numbers are the lowest they've ever been. So I'm like, yay, that was scary, Yeah. And then the election right after it, I was like, are you kidding me? I can't stand humanity. So is there anything else you want to tell people about your music?
I feel I'm getting more open to let my music come out the way it comes out without me having to direct it where it's going. Which I feel I tried so hard before to make it. For example, if you have a guy who writes horror stories, you don't think of that author as a bad person because he's writing killing and stuff like that. But for songwriters, we always feel like it's what we're writing about is personal to us, where I'm starting to let go of that idea where I can write negative stuff and it's not coming from me trying to push an agenda. It's just, this is the feeling that's coming through me, and I'm just trying to be as honest with that feeling as I could be. So I have some pretty...
How are you able to let that go? Was there is there a secret to that?
I started studying Access Consciousness. And actually Access Consciousness now has become more of the topics of my writing. Access Consciousness is a way to become fully conscious, just like Buddhism is a way to, I believe, become fully conscious. They do it through verbal processing, where they ask a question and you say yes to the question, and they release everything that releases. So I'll give you an example. So what generative energy, space, and consciousness can you and your body be to be completely out of form, out of structure, out of significance, out of linearity, out of concentricity, out of control, for all eternity with total ease? Anything that wouldn't allow that, will you destroy and uncreate it all? And if you say yes, and then I run a statement, right and wrong, good and bad, all nine, pod and pog, shorts, boys and beyond, it allows you to get rid of all the stuff you're holding on to define yourself as any one thing, so you can be infinite. And the more I do these processes, verbal processes, and I use them in my music now, the more I'm letting go of the idea that anything is judgeable. Where I used to be such a Buddhist Puritan, where I thought everything, I had to be so positive and had to be an example to the world that I'm a Buddhist or whatever. Now I'm just writing whatever comes to me and not having to own it as that this is my song. It's just a song that I authored.
So it's given you a way to be more honest with yourself, which has let down some of the stress that you were holding on to when you were writing.
Yeah. And now if I have a song played on, when I had 7 songs played on 91X, I felt each one, it gave me so much courage to continue writing, because one of them at the beginning of the pandemic, he said, okay, I'm gonna play another one of your songs, and I was like, I was so down that day and that whole week, and then I turned on 91X on Sunday night, and I heard my song, and it was just so good to hear my song on the radio, because I've written so many songs, and I feel like so many of them should be on the radio and on more radio stations, and they haven't been. And it gets depressing, because you wonder why you're doing this if no one's listening. Which I actually wrote a song called Voice Screaming in the Wilderness about that idea, which I'll be releasing soon. Now, are you on social media other than YouTube? Yeah, I'm on Instagram, and recently I just started using Instagram. I've been on Facebook for a long time. And what else am I on? Yeah, those are the main 2 right now. So if there were people listening, and no guarantees, because I haven't been lucky yet, but I always tell people to do it anyway, how could people get a hold of you on Facebook and Instagram? And do you have an email you'd like to give out? Yeah, Tim Janakos.
Spell that for the folks.
Okay, TIMJANAKOS
Okay.
at gmail.com.
Okay.
Or just search Tim Janakos on any platform, and I'm on everything.
You're on everything. Is your music on Bandcamp and stuff?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Tim, thank you so much for being on the show. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you everybody for listening to episode 41. If you haven't already done so, please go to Sound Pollution on my social media page and follow, subscribe, and share the show. I want to thank Tim again for being on an episode of Sound Pollution. Please visit his pages, find out what he's all about, and you guys be love and make some noise.